So, as I promised, these are the exercises that I would be likely to be working on for that back of yours and those hips. As we discussed during lockdown, many people's activity levels have dropped off a little bit, and as a consequence, we're finding quite a few people have got joint stiffness sort of as a consequence as they start to try and get back to a little bit more activity. So I'm going to show you some exercises for your back, for your hips from a mobility stretching point of view, but then I'm also going to throw in a couple of strengthening exercises as well. A lot of the time with these exercises, it's about really tuning into your body and thinking about where you feel that stretch. When you're trying to mobilise something that's stiff, if you just work in the range that it's happy to do, we're not going to get any progress. So what you need to do is be taking that joint to the end of its available range, feeling that bit of discomfort and then coming off it. And once we've done that and exposed that joint to that repeated stress or stretch several times, we'll then start to get that gradual increase in range. So as I said, I need you to tune into your body and I need to make sure you feel it. At the same time, I don't want you in agony. So first ones for your back, I'm going to demonstrate them lying down. That's not to say that you necessarily have to do it lying down. On the bed, absolutely fine, okay? So your first one, lying on your back, head supported with a pillow if you need it, and it was very simply bringing your knee in to your chest and relax it down. Same on the other side. And relax it down, okay? If it feels a bit uncomfortable to do it with your legs straight, by all means start with your legs slightly bent and that pelvis tucked under, pushing the small of your back into the bed. So you're just going to bring that knee in to your chest, hold for a few seconds and relax off. Now, what the research shows us with stretching is that we don't have a perfect time that we hold things for or a perfect number of repetitions. It really is a case of you working to the point that I feel I've given that a good stretch, I feel I've given that a good workout, I know I've done it, I'm a little bit achy, but I'm not in agony. Okay, so a good starting point is always 10, but that's as much because it's an easy number to remember rather than 10 having magical properties on the effectiveness of exercise. Okay, so you'll do one on each side, like that, and then what you can do is bring both the knees into your chest, pull them in towards your chest, have a hug of those knees. If you feel comfortable, your neck's not too problematic, by all means bring your head in as well and have a good stretch like that and relax down. Also in this position we can get you windscreen wipering your legs. So by that, I don't necessarily want your knees close together, going side to side. I want your knees actually quite far apart, so I'm afraid it's not terribly ladylike. Again, tuck that tummy under so we've got those lower tummy muscles working. And you're going to take your legs over to the side like that. And you're thinking about getting both knees down to the floor. And again, go the other way. So again, it's thinking about getting both knees to the floor. So what we're working on here is, yes, we're getting a nice stretch through the back, but we're working into rotation through the hips. So side to side like that. So that's why it's quite nice to keep the legs further apart, because this leg that's kind of coming in gives us that inward rotation, which is quite often restricted, or which is restricted in arthritic hips. So again, no magical number, work to about 10. Okay, let's imagine we've done 10 there. Also in this position, you can bring your heels in, towards your bum, and let your legs fall out to the side. Now, quite often again, this feels quite tight and uncomfortable in the groin, but it's a really nice stretch, and particularly as you've said, stepping over things is a problem. This is something we need to work into, because it's essentially that movement that you do when you're stepping it over a stile or into a bath. Okay, so again, just a nice sustained stretch. If you want to pop your hands on, apply a little bit of overpressure, you can do. and bring it back in. And again, push down and bring it back in. So that's that one to be working on. Also in this position, now this is more of a strengthening exercise, just getting the hamstrings, which are these here, and the glutes, which are these here, engaged. So you're going to tuck your pelvis under and you're going to drive up through your hips, squeezing your bum cheek as you go. So you're in a straight line from your shoulders to your knees. You're going to squeeze everything, dig in with those heels. You'll feel your hamstrings working and your glutes really working. Hold for 5 seconds. Should feel like quite hard work, and slowly lower down. Now, with strengthening exercises, what we know is that the most effective way of increasing our strength, and that's not to say the only way of increasing our strength, but the most effective way of increasing our strength is actually working really hard over a smaller number of repetitions. So with your strengthening exercises, what I want you to think about is that at the beginning is just, we're going to do 5 repetitions. So it's really clench, lift, hold that, squeezing everything like mad for 5 seconds, and slowly down. That's 3. And again, squeeze and lift for 5 seconds. Lovely. That's number 4. But when you're coming down, make sure you don't just flop. It's a slow, controlled lower. And up like that. And slow, controlled lower. Now, if you're thinking, oh, I really don't want to have to do everything lying down, you can do things sitting up. So sitting, if you're going to do this, do it on the sofa with your legs out straight. So make sure you've got something to support the bottom of that back. Same principles again, pulling your knees into your chest like that. So it's exactly the same exercise. The only thing I've done is change the position that my back is at, but we're still working into your hip flexion. Again, your side to side windscreen exercises, it is legs apart and you're taking those knees over to the side. So this leg is coming into internal rotation, this one's going into external rotation. So it's just a really nice way of having a stretch. You'll find that struggles to get down. Okay, so that's that way of doing it. And also this one, so if you can reach your toes or your feet to give them a bit of stability, great. If you can't, just leave them in front like that, and all you're thinking about is actively pushing those knees down to the floor to get a nice big stretch. Okay, you can also do very similar in sitting, so just sitting in a normal dining room chair as opposed to the sofa, with your legs out straight. Same principles again, pulling in like that, perching on the edge, letting your legs fall out like that. It's perhaps not quite as effective with this one, but what you can look to do in sitting is, if you can, which I think you could just about, get that heel onto that knee and just gently work into stretching out. What that does is give us the abduction, which is the movement out to the side, and the external rotation. It doesn't give us that inward one, which is quite often one of the first movements to go with hip arthritis, and quite tricky to sort of train yourself and work into it. So those are your hip mobilizing ones to do. There's loads of back stretches that you can do. Again, a couple of nice ones on the bed. Hands on all fours. Sorry, hands down on all fours. And arch your back up. Relax your head. Have a good stretch that way. And then drop your back down. Take your head up and have a good stretch that way. What I personally prefer is to take your toes together, take your bum back and relax down into this position. Now, this might feel a bit too uncomfortable into your hips. But have a go, because it's a nice stretch for your back and your hips. Okay, so you're going to take that bum right the way down. Okay, so that's a nice one to do. In standing, you can do what you call a forward fold. So that is when you drop your chin, roll your shoulders, and then let everything curl down like that. Relax your head, let that hang, reach down towards touching your toes. And then as you come back up, think about uncurling up like that. So that's relax your shoulders down. So that's quite a nice just stretch through the whole of your back. Particularly for you, we're really quite tight at the front of these hips, and that's why I think your back's starting to trouble you a little bit more. Not really because anything's massively changed at your backs, more that these are just tightened up a little bit. And if these are tight, it kind of alters the position that your back is in. So I really want to work on stretching these out. Now, probably the safest way to do it for you is on a chair. What I want you to do is use a lower chair than this. This is a little bit high, so I want you to work on a lower chair or the bottom step, okay, but this will give you an idea. So all you're going to do is bring your body weight forward, leaning onto that front foot, and you should feel that stretch through there. What you've got to monitor is what goes on at your back. So because this is tight, as you come forward, there is a tendency to want to arch back like that, and that may well just stir up your back pain. So what you need to think about doing is keeping pelvis tucked under, back in a good position, and just lean forward. You can see mine are pretty tight as well, and you will feel that stretch there at the front. And again, you're going to hold it and relax it off. 10 to 20 seconds, several repetitions to the point of, oh, I've given that a really good stretch. Like that. I've got a bit of a quiver. Okay, and obviously, in your case, you do both legs. So those are stretches and mobility exercises to be working on. There's just a couple of strengthening ones that I think we should work on. So I'm going to show you a lunge. Now, before you think, oh my goodness, she's going to get me lunging. Lunging is a really functional exercise because, God forbid, say you fall down, or say you are down on your knees sorting something out in the bottom cupboard. You come up through, essentially, a lunge. So there's a lunge. And in order for you to get up, you're coming up through a lunge position. So therefore, it's a really functional exercise, and therefore something we should be working on. So let me just get rid of that. Obviously though, I want you well supported and balanced. So it may well be you need to find something to hang on to on both sides. I'm just going to use the chair for this demonstration. Nice wide stance, as wide as that hip will let you go without being too uncomfortable. Imagine your legs are on double yellow lines, okay? So I don't want them there, I want them there. That's the position you would be in, holding on to something for support, and you are dropping down, and you're thinking about that back knee dropping down, and then driving up, and you are thinking about driving up through that front heel. So you're going to drop down as far as feels comfortable, and drive up. And again, drop down as far as feels comfortable, and drive up. And you will do that 5 times with the left leg leading, and then obviously 5 times with the right leg leading. And if you can, I would want you to do 3 sets of 5. 4 and 5. So you do repeat on both sides. As I say, 3 lots of 5 reps. The other one I want you to work on is a squat, and again, don't panic, but essentially a squat is the movement we use to get out of sitting, okay? So there's your squat, okay? And that is essentially the position we use to drive ourselves up there. So there's a few ways you can do that. You can do it with a chair like this and simply practice sitting to standing, trying to do it without holding on to anything, okay? Once that starts to feel easy, you then want to go to, she says as she wobbles, a hover and drive up. Come down, come down, come down, and drive up. Now, if that feels a little bit unstable, again, have something in front of you just to give you that little bit of support as you come down. It's probably a bit low, and drive up. Come down and drive up. The other way you can do it is a static wall squat. So against the wall, or in this case the doors, feet kind of just more than shoulder width apart, and you go into that position, and you can do a static squat like that, and you will really feel that burn in the quads, which is good. Or you can do wall squats like this, so you've got that little bit of support from the wall. Okay, so there's quite a few things for you to be getting on with. Sorry, again with this, you want 3 lots of 5 repetitions, but working quite hard. It should be a challenge. You should be glad to get to number 5. There are 1,000,001 exercises to do, so if something doesn't work, something doesn't feel right, or something feels really good, if it feels really good, go with it. If you don't feel like it's doing anything, it probably isn't. So stop it. There are so many other things I could add in, but this is something to get you started, to hopefully get those hips and that back loosened up a little bit. Okay, thanks.